I was sitting here digging some more on this, trying to dig out data. In the first flight, right down here, right after it, it doesn't have to go far to say that first priority is to have a multi-rotor that a stable tune, free of oscillations. Well, if I really want to be true to this, and it's free of oscillations, I don't have that yet. So I decided to reread this and revisit it. And it tells you the second time you try to pick it up, if it oscillates, immediately set it back down and reduce all of the following parameters by 50%. And basically this process is repeated until it hovers without oscillations, visually or audibly. So as close as it is right now, I don't think I'll have to do this a second time. I went in and did exactly what it told me to do, and I took all of these values and I cut them in half. The easiest way I can illustrate that is to come in here and compare my current setup with the original parameters before anything was done. And there's been a lot done since we started this little adventure, let me tell you. Lucky for us is alphabetically these are at the top. And they're the ATC rates of pitch and roll, just like I was talking about. And here's the first of 6. You can see right here the original value if I went with the file I'm comparing it to. And I want to uncheck all of these in case something happens wrong. Was 0.0036. Now it's 0.0018. That's half of what it was. Here's rate of pitch for I and P. That was D. PID. That's the first 3. It was 0.135. Both those values were 0.135 for their original values, and half of that is 0.0675. That's what I've got them at now. We got 3 more to locate here, don't we? Okay, I see 2 of them. Okay, we'll just take those 2 out. Here's your rate. We were doing pitch, so we're on roll. PI. They were both 0.135 starting, and now they're half of that at 0.0675. We're looking for rate roll D. There it is. Yep, rate roll D term. It was started out as 0.0036 and now it's 0.0018. So I did exactly what they told me. Man, can you believe how many parameters I've added, changed, etc. Going through everything I've told you the past couple of days. So that's set up and ready to go. One of the things that kind of shocked me a little bit was when I started coming into these and looking at them to cut them in half, this is how I did it. Scraped through each of them and came in here and searched for that particular parameter. You can see here that that's also the default value. So those PIDs were not touched at all when this parameter was run on them. I found that pretty interesting. And right now we can see an extended tuning. As I said, you could come up and set one of these to a potentiometer, because you can see this is where those things are that I was just talking about cutting in half. There's all your PID. Sorry about that. War Department calling from New Orleans. So this is all your PID values right here, and you can see they were cut in half. So you can either come into this nice little place here. Boy, I wonder if I can figure out what channel this is on. Anyway, I don't need to do that. These have been cut by 50% precisely as it says to do right here. Be aware that in this state the aircraft may be very slow to respond to large control inputs and disturbances. The pilot should be extremely careful to put minimal stick inputs into the aircraft to avoid the possibility of a crash. Yeah. So I think by doing what I did right here, dropping this by 50%, I honestly believe tomorrow, if I get a chance, I can step out the back door here real quick and pop this thing up with the PIDs for roll and pitch exactly like they are right this second, and I bet there won't be any in it. I don't know if there'll be any yaw problems. If there is, I'll address them. But I think this is a more prudent way to approach this. So that's all for this Monday night. Let's see what happens tomorrow. And it's now tomorrow, just after 9 o'clock. Let's see what we got. Hey, that looks much better to me. So I decided I was going to test altitude hold. So would you call that a successful altitude hold? Neither would I. You notice I got it out of the top of the camera view a little bit. I was trying to move it up a little higher to try to change the barometer input. It just wouldn't work. So I brought it back inside, and the problem was I had set up a brand new model inside here for the Chimera. I didn't copy anything from another one. And this morning, this curve was not in the radio. And this curve sets the modes on the mode button. And also over here in mixes, that curve was not a part of the mode channel 5. This was not in there. So when I got it back in here, I found out it just literally was not being put into altitude hold. So that's a good reason for it not to work. Well, now I have worked on that. You're going to hear the radio just speaking whatever of the 6 modes on the buttons I push, but you're going to see it's all working correctly now. We're going to go for loiter. Yeah, I'm going to go down the buttons now from left to right according to my setup flight modes.
Stabilize. Altitude hold.
Yeah, baby.
Circle. Auto. Landing. Loiter.
And just a random selection.
Stabilize. Circle. Landing. Stabilize. Loiter. Circle. Altitude hold.
So you see it all works perfectly now. It just really didn't.
Stabilize.
Wasn't getting the signal to it this morning.
Circle.
And I don't have anything on the radio yet when I put it in return to launch. But it does go into return to launch. I don't have any fail-safe set. Didn't want any of them accidentally invoking and thinking the thing needed to go 2 miles from here to land and just disappear from the backyard on me. There's a throttle or a cut in my radio someplace, but that was just put in when I made the model. I haven't really looked at it. So that explains the altitude hold problem, and that problem is now corrected. I do have another little thing I am trying to solve. So far I haven't got a good log out of this little creature, and I need a log for vibration. Don't know quite yet what that is. So now we're ready to go back outside and test altitude hold again. And you can see right here on the throttle, I've got a cut switch. SH is my cut switch. And see, I'm going to replace that in the platform with my motor kill, but I haven't set that up yet. But it was sort of set up on the radio. Okay, so now let's go outside, do another flight, and see if we can't get altitude hold to work. I don't see any reason it wouldn't. The little quad is just being really, 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 really well behaved. And now that I'm ready to check altitude hold again, I don't think you can see it, but you can possibly hear it. It's starting to rain. It's 11 o'clock. I got up at 9 today and I got in 2 hours. That's all I had, and I'm not going to be able to do the auto tune. However, I went out about 15 minutes later to do something else, and the rain had let up for a moment, so I grabbed everything to do my test of altitude hold. I'm just going to narrate the flight real quick. I took off in stabilized mode. You can hear when it goes into altitude hold.
Altitude hold.
As soon as it did, it sat down on the ground. I used the throttle nudge to pick it back up a couple of times. Might not should have done that. I should put it in stabilized mode, get it a little higher, and then put it in altitude hold. But I successfully used the nudge function to get it up. I even had the throttle at like 75% at one point. I know altitude hold is working because it didn't go off to the moon. And then after I got it settled down and got the throttle down to 50%, I let it start drifting, and I was going to start working on trim. And then I decided not to work on trim, just to set it back down. I was going to try to do a start of an auto tune and just see if it would do it, but I decided not to.
I'm going to call that a good altitude hold. And I can tell from where my brother was here this morning, the little muddy tire tracks just in my yard, that my sod fields are going to be terrible. I can't go to them for a while. The sand there has been run over so much, it's like that fine sand, like talcum powder in a horseshoe pit. And boy, when it's wet, it's just terrible. I think I'm in pretty good shape for my auto-tune flight when I'm able to do it, and that's really next. I'll see if there's any other little things I can do on this before the auto-tune flight, but I think I need to work on getting my radio configured rather than anything on this platform. I've got my instructions there for auto-tune that I can review before I go do the auto-tune. But today is the first rainy day of 3. Then it gets colder. I really need some days, 2 or 3 at least, of dry for those fields to be dry enough to drive into without getting in trouble and losing the ability to fly at them. I just don't want to do that. So, but again, this is a vertical. It's much different. There may be some other places I can go fly that's easier. So we'll work on that. But it's honestly going to be 3 days of rain. So there's nothing going to happen until Friday or Saturday. Today's Tuesday. Yeah, Friday or Saturday is the next possibility. But again, I think it's really, really ready for the auto-tune now. Okay, guys, thank you so much.